I guess it's time for another video, and today's video is going to be about basketball. Now, I dig basketball at all levels. At the college level, I dig my hometown St. Louis Billikens, my home state Missouri Tigers, and at the pro level, I enjoy whichever the hell team Jason Tatum just happens to be playing on. Whether it's the Celtics or any team otherwise, I will follow that team to the gates of hell so long as he is playing on them. And of course, at the WNBA level, the Atlanta Dream here. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why the hell do I like the WNBA, and why is my favorite team so far away from my hometown? I'll answer that in a future video, but for now, just know that I like basketball. Now, it's no secret that women's basketball, much like women's sports in general, are far less popular than men's sports, and of course basketball is no exception, even though viewership has been getting a lot better in recent years, thanks in large part to better TV coverage and more marketable stars. But there's still a pretty big gap. Now, how we close that gap really just depends on who you ask. Most fans of the sport point to TV coverage. After all, like I said, ratings are on the rise each and every single year, with this season's most recent doubleheader on ABC having been watched by 28% more viewers than the highest rated ABC game last season. Also, the season opener had a 25% audience increase from last year's season opener. ESPN games are more popular than they've ever been, and in Canada, the league has never been more popular because TSN is picking up a lot of games. So it turns out that when you make games more accessible, the audience is likely to be a lot bigger, especially when the games are on nationally recognized networks like ABC or ESPN, and not just, hidden somewhere deep in the cable lineup on some obscure channel that nobody's ever really heard of. I mean, seriously, how many people out there even know that the CBS Sports channel is a thing? I sure didn't before the season started. But despite this knowledge, there are still people who insist that the problem lies elsewhere, most notably the height of the hoop. Now, outsiders absolutely love using this argument, even though they have absolutely nothing on which to base it. Now, some like to point the fact that it fits in the fact that the games are shorter, the ball is smaller. If you look at women's volleyball, the net is a lot lower. And of course, Courtney Williams likes it, and Courtney Williams just happens to be my favorite WNBA player right now. But their favorite talking point is dunking. If you talk to these people, you think that dunking is all they really give a damn about. Now, I'm going to be the first to admit, watching NBA players dunk is really freaking awesome. We all love it. But this isn't the NBA. And comparisons to the far more established NBA is one of the biggest problems when talking about this. Women's athletes are always constantly being compared to the men, being held to men's standards, and nowhere is this more evident than in basketball. Lowering the rim just strengthens that comparison and makes it harder for people to appreciate the women's game for what it really is. Now, suppose that the WNBA actually lowers the rim, even just by a little bit. That's still a pretty big adjustment to make. These players have been playing with a 10-foot rim for pretty much their entire lives, so as soon as they reach the pro ranks, now they have to adjust to a new height? Or do we just start it at an even younger age? Do we have separate gymnasiums for boys and girls with different rim heights? Or do the girls just play on the boys' dimensions until they turn pro? Easier said than done, I think. But what else can we expect from people who never really gave a damn about the women's game in the first place? Now, I know a lot of people are not very comfortable with the word sexism, especially in the year 2021, but when you think about it, that's really all this boils down to. The vast majority of advocating for lower nets are men. There's a really deep narrative in our society that just hates women's basketball. The toxicity in internet comments on women's basketball is something I've never seen anywhere else in any other sport. Maybe hockey comes close. Maybe. But either way, seeing more women dunk is really not probably going to bring these guys over to watch, and as I said earlier, there is literally no data to suggest otherwise. Unlike the fact that a lot of girls' coaches expressly discourage young girls from even attempting to learn to dunk at a young age, usually around middle school or high school. It's a result of generations and generations of sexism. It's why WNBA players have to play in Asian leagues and European leagues during the winter months, and why it took so damn long for the league to finally get paid maternity leave to their players. Seriously, imagine if they didn't need to do that and WNBA players had the time and money to invest in their bodies, their minds, their families, themselves, just like the NBA does. You'd see results pretty damn quickly. Fan bases, whether it's for a team, a league, an entire sport, it's built from the ground up. The infrastructure that made the NBA profitable could make the WNBA profitable as well. Maybe not, to the same extent, but a lot better than they're doing now if the people in charge actually cared. Look no further than the U.S. women's soccer team. They've accomplished way more than the men's team ever has and in a fraction of the time. As a result, they're far more popular on TV. People are watching, they're probably making a lot more money, and contrary to popular belief, less pay makes for worse conditions. It's not because these women aren't as flashy or talented as the men, it's sexism. It's a refusal to invest in them despite all the success that they've had because they're women. So all this talk about lowering the rim and slam dunking, that's just a lot of crap talk from people who never really care to begin with. It's a lazy argument, and it's kind of insulting. It doesn't really do anything to address the real issue. Now, more dunking may make for a nice addition to the SportsCenter top 10 some nights, but people are still going to hate on them anyway. Look what happened to Brittany Griner after she had her first multi-dunk game. People still talk crap about her, whether it was people saying that it shouldn't count because she's as tall as a house, or that she used to be a man and had a sex change. Yeah, there are a lot of men who actually suggested this, and unfortunately a lot of them probably actually believe it too. Dunking is not going to move the needle. Like I said, it'll be great for a SportsCenter top 10 here and there, but the best way to get more eyes on the product is with better TV deals. Most teams have halfway decent exposure on more regional sports channels like Bally Sports, but it can only take them so far. More nationally televised games on ABC, ESPN, hell, even TNT. It would do far more for this league than lowering the standard of play ever could. It just lessens the skill necessary to do it, and it just cheapens the product in general. The players' merits and skills should speak for themselves, and with more TV coverage, they absolutely can.